Hello everyone, I'm the Pixel Hero, creator of the recently released fan game Geometry-Nexitron. In today's video, we'll be going over every single reference that can be found in Geometry-Nexitron and going into the small details about them. There's a lot of secrets I put around the game, so I might bring up one that you've never heard before. This video is mainly about Chapter 1's references. So spoilers for Chapter 1. Because of the amount of references in this game, there's a slight chance that I might overlook some of them. I'll try my best to get to all of them. We'll be going through everything in chronological order, so let's jump into it. First off is the main menu screen. The buttons are references to the main menu buttons in Geometry Dash. The credits button is also taken from Geometry Dash. At the beginning, a special Grim Kitty Productions intro is played that contains a congregation jump scare, which is a reference to a community joke within the Geometry Dash community. In QB's house, there are a lot of Easter eggs and references, so sit tight. Let's start with QB's room, starting with the alarm clock. The alarm clock sprite is a reference to the Skull mini-boss that can be found in the level Press Start from Geometry Dash Sub-Zero. Interacting with it even plays his little catchphrase. Next is the trash can sprite, which has a clubstep demon design on it. Next up is the pinboard. On it is a doodle of QB and Melty, a Juniper keychain, and a Space Invader, which, believe it or not, is not a reference to the song Space Invaders by Temanite and MGK, but a reference to my favorite rhythm game, Groove Coaster. Next, let's talk about the shelf sprite. The shelf sprite has a lot of references on it. On the top shelf, you can find 3 Funko Pops, one of QB, one of Juniper, and another random mystery one. On the shelf under them, you can see a photo of QB and Melty, along with a little Melty figurine. On the bottom shelf, a couple of books scattered around. However, the books we are looking for are the ones on the left. These are a reference to the 4 Classic Minecraft Handbooks. Moving on to the computer. The computer itself isn't a reference. However, what's on it is a reference to the beginning of Back on Track. Interacting with the computer gives you the option to play it. 2 events can happen depending on the party. If your party only consists of QB, a cutscene with Minecraft will be played. However, if Melty is in the party, then a cutscene with Flip Out Rush, another Grim Kitty Productions game, will be played. Next up is the dresser, mostly what's on it. Going from left to right, here are the references. My personal GD Cube, or Cube 72, the base cube design used for Geometry Dash Biohazard, Chip 1 with the default colors, and Sweet Pea from the unreleased animated series Adorably Rude. Finally, a look at QB's wallpaper. This is actually a reference to the beginning of Stereo Madness. While it isn't very obvious in the game, it is a bit more apparent in the game files, as the tile map kind of separates some of the parts. Next up is the bathroom. When Melty is in the party, Melty will mention that he's glad there is no blood in the tub, which is a reference to the Geometry Dash custom level Bloodbath. Interacting with the hallway window brings up a dialogue that's a reference to the Sans intro fight dialogue. Next up is the living room. Starting with the paintings, the first one is a reference to the easy difficulty phase. Second is a painting of QB and Melty. The stone-headed statue and QB himself are a reference to the Geometry Dash game icon. To be more specific, Cube 4. This is a common theme in important characters that will come up later. Next up is the kitchen. 2 paintings can be found here. One is a real official image of the Geometry Dash cube, and the second is a reference to the game Flip Out Rush. Moving on to outside is a few things in terms of the environment. Firstly, QB's house is in the shape of him. The lamppost found all around the Dashlands can be seen with some icon imagery as well. And then there's Melty, who is a reference to the Geometry Dash Meltdown spin-off game icon, or to be a little more specific, Cube 70. In this section is the first checkpoint you see, which itself is a reference of 2 things: the checkpoint system in classic levels and the way checkpoints work and look in platformer mode. The sign sprites are also a reference to the ones that can be found and used in Geometry Dash. Next is the first enemy you encounter, the dummy. Pumpkin face of the dummy is a reference to Cube 44. While we are discussing battles, in the PC version, you can use inputs to cast attacks. The arrow indicators are a reference to Wave 1. Command wheel is also a reference to Ball 1. Going back to the outside area of QB's house, this area is also where you can find your first chest, which are all references to chests you can find in the games. The stone path texture is also an actual block design that can be found in Geometry Dash. After this, you move into the trail, where a few NPCs can be found in the first shop. The first NPC is Cube 50. This NPC is a reference to the cube that is shown in the Geometry Dash Update 2.0 sneak peek. The second NPC is a special NPC, which has some significance to the story. This NPC, also named Drew, uses Cube 98 and is a reference to the RPG playtester Drew. Next is the shopkeeper. The sign on the top of the tent is a reference to the actual sign that can be found in the game, and the shopkeeper is the main shopkeeper from Geometry Dash. The shards that you can purchase are all references to the shards of power, which can be collected in Geometry Dash to unlock new cosmetics. In Nexitron, however, they function as potions and help the player out with healing and states. In most of the shops, you can find either a window skin or a new font. Some of the fonts that can be used are ones that can also be used in custom levels. Going back to NPCs, the next one that you come across is Cube 53. The NPC behind it is Cube 10. The next NPC that can be seen walking around is Cube 14. And the final NPC for now is Cube 66. Going into a bit of spoiler territory, you can go off into a secret side path of the trail, and you can find a wizard character. This character is a reference to an older game made by Rob Top, the creator of Geometry Dash and Rune Digital Games, called Forlorn, and uses the song Random Song 01 while in dialogue, which was also used in that game as a shop theme. Upon leaving the trail, you enter the Dashlands. The name is a reference to the first island in Geometry Dash world that goes by the same name. Firstly, we'll start with all of the NPCs. First is Cube 84, then Cube 7, Cube 36, Cube 107, and Cube 9. Next up is the enemies that can be found in this area. First up, the Big Beast, the enemies from the base game. In the original game, they don't have a tongue. However, they are present in the 2.0 sneak peek teaser image. Next is the Bats, also from the main game. Next is B, which is also a reference to the custom level B. Next is the Snail, which is a reference to Cube 137. And finally is Stompy, who is a reference to a platformer mode concept art that was released during Update 2.2's development. Before we move on, let's discuss the Jester. This is a special NPC that can provide a challenge level. His head design is a reference to Cube 12. Next, we move on to the King's Castle, and there's a few references that can be found here. Firstly, the guard NPCs and enemies are references to Cube 68, and is also a reference to the cube used in the Geometry Dash Meltdown trailer. The battle song in the castle is also Viking Arena by F777, which is a song used in a level by the same name in GD Meltdown. In the treasure room, orbs and diamonds can be found scattered around, which are both references to Geometry Dash in-game currency. Next is a very small detail. On a shelf in front of the armory room, a framed photo of the king and Ziggy, a character in a future chapter, can be seen hanging out. And next is the king himself. His design is based off of some concept art from Rob Top during 2.2's development. Next up is the Dryout Lands. The name of the land is a reference to Geometry Dash level Dryout. The NPCs in this area are a reference to Cube 5. The cologne salesman is a reference to the GD YouTuber GD Colon, and a cologne bit comes from the GD Cologne meme. There are two NPCs with specific dialogue close to the entrance of the deep cave. One of them states, "I blame the rating system for this heat wave," while the other states, "The first NPC's lawn wasn't rated in a yard decorating contest." This is a reference to the rating system for custom levels in Geometry Dash. Now for the enemies in this area. Bully is a reference to Cube 114, the Scorpion is a reference to Spider 14, and the Scavenger is a reference to Cube 222. Finally, we move on to the first boss fight of the game, Corrupted Steve. Steve himself is a reference to Cube 1, and his colors are a reference to the default customization settings when first starting the game. After that, we move on to the final area in Chapter 1, the Snowlands. Dialogue can be found in one of the houses that states, "Music can be heard from inside, it sounds overused." This is a poke at song controversy and level creation, where a song that is used too much can become overused. There is also the Snow Lake Snowman. This snowman says the dialogue, "The door is locked." This isn't a specific reference to anything Geometry Dash, but it is a reference to a moment in playtesting where code used for the cabin doors was copy-pasted for the original dialogue events for convenience, in which the snowman said, "The door is locked." And finally, we move on to the Diamond Shopkeeper, who is also in Geometry Dash. His dialogue when first meeting him is also taken from Geometry Dash. Finally, you go to Melty's house. When interacting with the fridge, it will state that there is a frozen slice of pizza in the freezer, and that Melty had a dream about it. This is a reference to the April Fool's game, Geometry Dash Nexitron Blast of the Past, in which you had to get back a stolen slice of pizza in a dream playing as Melty. There are 3 paintings on the wall in the main area. Going from left to right, the first is a reference to Grim Kitty Productions' clothing brand, Nitron-Stylez. The second is a cute photo of Max the cat, who has been in many projects before. And lastly is a photo of the Campfire Man from the pre-2.2 level titled Level, which was a platformer level about an abandoned, unfinished level. And well, that's just about everything for Geometry Dash Nexitron Chapter 1. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and thank you all for 5,000 subscribers. That's halfway to 10k, and I honestly couldn't be more thankful. Thank you all so much. Let's try and get to 10k. If you aren't subscribed, but you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe for more content from me. And well, that's all I have to say. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in Chapter 2. Goodbye, everyone.